Good space time, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Web3 podcast, your source for educational insights into the Web3 universe and your connection hub to discovering those that contribute to building the decentralized world. Today, we are joined by Dr. Alexandra Mikityuk from Staex. We touch upon the secrets of success, making your job your hobby, and discovering your values. We discuss burnout, forest bathing, and the forces of nature. Finally, we talk about burning resources with cloud, integrating crypto, and over-engineering. If you enjoy our podcast, please share this episode onto your favorite social platform and help us spread Web3 values into the universe.
My journey was more focused on really discovering within you the things that are your values, are your goals. To really integrate crypto into the real world, maybe we need another 20 years. The first value is actually do everything with love. Like, you can never build a secure system if it's over-engineered. Please also remember the forces of nature, like, the sea, the water, the wind.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Web3 podcast. Today, I have Alexandra from Staex with me today. Alexandra, hi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. We met together in Berlin Blockchain Week, and you were giving a talk, which, in my opinion, was very impressive. So I couldn't miss the opportunity to hear your thoughts and everything else. But before we get into it, can I please do the traditional thing, ask you to introduce yourself for me, the listeners, what you do, how did you get into Web3, and anything else you want to talk about?
Sure. I would just start exactly or jump into where you started, I'd say, at the Berlin Blockchain Week. And I was there presenting what my company is doing. So I'm one of the co-founders at Staex, GmbH. It's a German entity. And I was presenting our work. It was a great event, and I always enjoy these blockchain events in Berlin. It's a great infrastructure and ecosystem. And so, I'm one of the founders. I'm the tech lead and the execution officer, basically doing the CEO and CTO roles at the moment. We are doing this already since 2017, so for quite some years. And as we also discussed, I'm a professor for cryptography, network security at the university in Flensburg. This is a little bit further away from Berlin, so it's a couple of hours to the direction of the Danish border. That's up in the north. And how did I get into crypto? I would describe my journey as being extremely lucky. I think there was somewhere the sentence of, I guess, 95% of the success is just being somewhere. So I truly believe it's the case. And 2012 up until 2017, I was doing my PhD in computer security here at the Technical University of Berlin. And I wasn't necessarily dealing with crypto. I was actually looking into hardware platforms and how you can store the key material securely on a hardware platform. And in parallel, I would describe these crazy times as there was no chance that you can bypass crypto, because any event you go, right, any meetup you are, everybody was talking about this. And in the beginning, it's just like, there's crazy conversations like, there is this kind of new thing and it will change the world. And it's like, and for us, we were very young and not only young, but also the time when you already have some capacity to do things. So I guess that's been an amazing time. And even though I'm now doing more or what Staex is doing, right, focusing more on the deep in space of things, I am what not so many people actually know, that I'm like the natural product of like OG crypto world in Berlin. Like the other day I visited my friends at Satoshi Pay in, I think right now they have their office in Kreuzberg. And I just like, I like this new trends and newcomers. However, I really enjoyed this. And I just remember these good old days in crypto when we did have less regulation back then. And it was it was different, right? It just was, I mean, you also know this, it was just a different vibe. And so, yeah, and I got into this, I learned how this can change the world, and I took kind of my part out of it and my perspective, what I have really enjoyed and connected to my passion of creating the real machine economy for the future. And yeah, so in 2017, I was kind of always working also as part of my PhD with Deutsche Telekom. And they were so brave that they actually launched the first in the world back in the days. It was 2017 blockchain lab. And they were looking for a person that would jump into this and create a product and build a team. And and I was like, this is a great opportunity for me, and just jumping into something completely unknown. And this is how we started the journey. And since then, lots of things happened. And, that's how we met in Berlin.
It's cool story. I'm gonna dig it a little bit because
Sure.
there is one. The first thing I have is like, how do you live? Because you're a CTO, you're a CEO, you're a professor at a university. You like what? How do you breathe? How do you eat? When does that happen?
I like that cool question. So I guess when I also reflect on it myself, that seems like a lot. It's and I get this question asked a lot, and slowly I have just one answer. I really love what I'm doing, and I, everybody talks about it, right? Like, make your hobby to your job and you never have to work. It just like, it really works in a sense of you actually get re-energized through what you do. Like every great conversation, we met, and now me doing this podcast, I actually don't see it as my job, right? Because it just so cool, talking about this technology is changing the world, and it's very it's very fulfilling in that sense. So I guess this is it. And I think that you get into very efficient modes when you, like, for instance, right, what I teach at the university, it's also what I deal with every day. So I can also bring very, I would say, new trends to the students. And also sometimes actually, which is really interesting, some things that they ask me bring me, in my kind of work to other aspects of which, the question that I would never anticipated myself. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's, let's think about it. So I guess kind of this mixture, and also what really helps me, it's this switch, because if you do different things, it's also very, it feels like you are resting, right? Because you just do a different sort of the job piece. And also, I guess, my job as a CEO, fundraising, sales, partnerships, you meet a lot of people, and it became my life somehow, right? So even today we're going to be doing also later on some AMAs on Twitter Spaces, and meeting these people. They're all my friends, and we discuss these topics also like somewhere over a coffee cup or something. So it's just like it's really cool.
I totally am with you on that. Yet
Right.
I'm gonna play a little bit devil's advocate, because I tell you why. Because it's a topic that we talk about sometimes on the podcast. It's not like over the past 4.5 years. I think there have been a lot of people who are like yourself, who are like heads over heels in what they do. They love what they do. I'm myself like that. Yet the topic, I think, is not touched enough. And the topic is like, man, like, even, I'm gonna give it from a different angle. I don't know if you remember, or if you heard about this in management schools a long time ago, especially in the eastern part of the world. What they used to, there was like a trick question, and the question sounded something like this. You have you're a manager, you have a task to do, and you have two workers, one which is head over heels with his work and he can barely do anything, and you have one that doesn't really do anything. Who are you going to give the task to? Of course, everybody says to the second person. The correct answer is to the first person, because he's already in it and he will do it. Now, that's all cool, fun and games, and I understand loving your work, but like, why? Where is the goal? Where are you heading? Where are you gonna say? And it's not about so much about Alexandra. I mean, in general, right? Like, where is the point where you say, okay, it's enough of what I achieved, of whatever it is I'm doing, and as a person, I'm fulfilled, and I want to be in this place and not carry on bringing onto myself more and more and more. And I know it's a devil's advocate questions. I'm not saying it's not
Sure.
like it's a bad or good thing, but I'm curious if you ever thought about anything like that.
That's a very interesting question. I guess I would just say what I also learned throughout my journey. There are just different people. So some people want to kind of get into the state of, settling down in a sense. And I guess for me, I was just maybe my background, we are connected a lot to this. They're called Hutsuls. That's actually the, the mountain people in the western part of Ukraine, right? And I was Googling what is it actually, and I think they are nomads in a sense. And I guess maybe this journey piece makes me happy because you're always not like looking for the next thing, but they also say in German, the way is your goal. So you're actually, or they also say the one that loves the path will get further. So I guess I don't see this journey in a sense of there will be something final and then I can settle. It's just, I guess, the general connection to my personal goals because I also do a lot of, that's again, right, back to your question, a lot of meditation and self-discovery. And I think this is the only way, and I kind of feel people don't talk about it enough because there is a lot of information, a lot of books, a lot of, what's the next thing, like in crypto, I may be a little bit different from the people that are in crypto because I feel it's very driven by like, what's the next, what's the fastest, what's the coolest, right? And my journey was more focused on really discovering within you the things that are your values, are your goals. And I really want to create efficient future for us from the system perspective. Like I really want this, cars and charging stations do the work for us. Like I don't want to be bothered by all this, thousands of applications and management because our life is really complicated already now. And I really want to make it happen. And I just know it's a long journey from, I get this question asked a lot by investors, like, how is it possible to do? And I guess, my strength is just like you set yourself ready for this long journey and you just alongside this journey, enjoy this amazing things like talking now with you, sharing the experience, and all these things. So I don't see this really as I will get somewhere one day, but rather enjoying. And also, of course, taking time for myself. I'm not working 24/7, of course. I'm having amazing
Just
friends.
23 hours.
Just 23, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. And I guess, also another life hack that really helped me, I read it in this book, like Habits of Highly Efficient People or something, or 7 Habits of Highly Efficient People. And there was this really cool thing with priorities. And I prioritize my family and friends first. So for instance, if something happens, I don't have a job. Like I'm all ears for my friend, right? And this is also how you get rooted in the real life. You're not like completely somewhere in crypto that, like you lost the connection to the real life, etc. And this also means a lot to me. And this is, and I actually count it as part of my job in a way, right? Because if I can't really be mindful, connected to my surroundings, I can do my job nicely. And so I guess that's kind of all together. That's the way that I found. And also in a company, you also, right, you have lots of flexibility. We have an amazing team and we actually establish rules and stacks where I can't do certain things. I can actually openly call my co-founder or anybody who's working in the team and be very open and say, I can't get up today. Can you please do this call for me? Or can you please, take over the speech there? And, it works somehow. It works. Yeah.
I guess if you were to advise founders, anybody, because the podcast audience is for the last like years, it has been focused on CTOs, on developers, on founders. And if you were to to advise against burnout to people who are especially in crypto, what would you say to them? Don't do, or do, in order not to get a burnout if you're just starting your Web3 journey, or your dipping journey, or whatever. It doesn't matter in this case.
Right. Very, very grateful for this question. I actually went through this phase myself when I was, I guess, I don't remember. I think it wasn't even called a burnout back then. I was, I think, 21, 22. And after going through this, I am actually also very mindful inside my team, and I'm like, maybe some, of my colleagues are stressed already by me and like, Alexandra, just get away from us with your burnout. We are fine. However, I spend a lot of time thinking of how not to get into this phase again, because I honestly wouldn't advise it to anyone. Like, getting out of this phase, that's a nightmare. So please, everyone who is listening to this right now, I will share my thoughts on it. It's really real. I want to really make a statement here. It's not fun. It really happens. And we have to all be careful, and also with our friends and people that we have in our surroundings, that they really take care of this balance. So I think personally what can lead to these things, I would say what I think currently is that the root problem is not being connected to your values. And here, that's why I think it's important to understand yourself and what you are standing for. And like, for instance, if you work with someone who is acting differently, like for instance, this person likes to do a business in a way that they burn the bridges, and right, like there are people that may scream and like, say everybody is a bad person, etc. And it doesn't work for you. And you go along this journey and you are in this energy and you are kind of in this, right? You're doing this with them. This is what I think it's the first thing which you have to be really careful about. And I think we're all responsible, and here is important to take responsibility for yourself to actually change this. Either have a conversation or, transform the situation, or whatever solution is there. Because this is what I felt. Like, as soon as you are disconnected from your own self, from your own beliefs, it can be a city that doesn't fit you, right? Because the mentality is different. It can be a country that doesn't fit you. It can be a company that doesn't fit you. It can be a partner that you kind of slowly disconnected over time, right? It can be friends that you don't feel anymore connected. So all these things actually put pressure on you, because you like every day betray yourself. And all of this accumulates in this very unhappy, in a way, lifestyle. So being, the answer is here, being honest with yourself and saying, okay, is it something that I'm standing for, right? Is it something that I love doing? And so I guess this was the core that I could identify for myself. Of course, you're going to hear like, you have to sleep, you have to have the balance. This is all very important. Again, meditation really helped me, because, you get into crypto, you go crazy because your mind is always, rotating and thinking, switching off completely, right? Your phone, forest, it's called now forest bathing, right? That you connect to the nature. That's
I never heard forest bathing
yeah.
as a synonym. That's cool. I like it. Forest bathing. I like this. I
Yeah.
like this.
And just feel it, like you get into the forest, you really feel that you like kind of, you're coming down. So please also remember the forces of nature, like, the sea, the water, the wind, the forest. It really, the sun, everybody who spent Berlin winters, can tell you about this. And this is also, we are the kids of nature. And this is always like just the amount of things it really can give you. We shouldn't forget about it. So all of it, having the right group of people that, that people, talk about it a lot. You have to be supported. And you have to have supporters and fans that are like, oh my God, that's so cool what you're doing. Because when you are a founder in crypto, a lot of people can be against you. You are kind of fighting against the odds and stuff. So you really need this support. You really need to be connected to your values, and you really need to be connected to the nature.
I thank you for that answer. I really appreciate it. It's a really thought out answer, because usually, when we talk about this topic with a lot of founders, we end up in one like 30-second advice, and it's good that you went, and I really like it. I think I can really connect personally. And this is what, if I was going to, I'm not gonna share from my side. It's about you, of course, and your opinion, but the betraying yourself, I think, should be really a first sign for anybody that is, doesn't matter what, but as long as you feel betrayed, I think you should go and start relooking what it is you're doing. And I completely agree on that. It's crazy. How did, like, you've made a huge progression from academia to, and I think I'm going to wrap up on that topic. Sorry that I'm going that way, but it's a good topic, like from academia into the, not just like business world, but like crypto world, the pin world, a world that it's not about that. It's about that academia has a different mindset. How was that progression from academia into Deutsche Telekom and, the Web3 crypto world? How did that shift work? It's interesting, I think, to understand.
That's really cool. That's a good question. So you're completely right. It's different worlds. Like, it's really different worlds. I need to say I was extremely, again, I'm thankful. I was lucky because I was part of a group doing my research. It's in a nutshell, it's a hacker group, right? so and there we had very hands-on, pragmatic people, that are, we break in systems, we look into how the system is holistically set up. And this is where I actually could learn about the, hacker mentality in that sense. So that's why, from my perspective, the security world is a little bit different even in academia. Because it's still like a little bit different mentality. And that's why I could, I guess, bridge it a little bit better. And I think because it's very, I guess, connected to the real life. Like, it's very real cases of, what happened, who hacked into what. You kind of do investigation, or you go through this yourself by, looking which parts of the system you can explore and exploit in that sense. So this is what I've seen maybe in other areas. What I now kind of understand what was happening at my chair. This is a little bit different because it's very hands-on in that sense. And I guess that's why I could actually map it back and connect it. However, this is it's a challenge, right? Bridging the worlds, and I guess a lot of empathy and also self-reflection of kind of understanding, okay, like now I talk to a completely different person. Even now in crypto, bridging the OGs and the new the newcomers. And I always say what really helped me to be respectful, because everybody has their own vision, their own truth. And I think the power is not only in breaking and not having a plan how to actually build something new, but, I am a true believer of learning from the past mistakes, and kind of also kind of digesting this learnings. So I guess this was kind of the recipe of bridging these things. And also I also think that's a really good advice on this. If you want to change, you have to place yourself into this new environment. And this also helps extremely to get into this kind of, like I'm on this journey right now. I'm getting into the new crypto world, and everybody is younger. And like I was just sharing yesterday, we talked to Web3 native investors, and it's all Telegram. It's all like they all have like these icons instead of their pictures. Sometimes I'm on calls, they don't put the camera on, and you question yourself, like, is it true? Is it real? And then you have memes sending around. That's a new culture, right? And I guess, being flexible and adapting very fast, because you have to play this game. You can't say, I'm different, I'm going to be doing it differently. And I like it. I like, new things. That's why.
I promised that it was going to be last question, but I did one more spring up while you were telling the story into the direction of the journey. Why like I didn't ask you, usually I ask it at the beginning, but because we went into like the more difficult stuff, I mean, why this field? Why IT? I mean, nobody just wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to go and hack and build, something attracts you. I mean, you talk a lot about values, by the way. And I'm curious, what are the values that are driving you, have driven you, not driving you now, but have originally driven you here to that journey?
Right. I'm gonna give you a very weird answer right now.
Please do.
It actually came to me lately, like a couple of weeks ago, that I was laughing. I started to ask people what their names mean. Some you can Google, right? That's easy, and I do this a lot. So I don't know.
Okay.
I started to do it lately. And it was funny because I'm like, okay, what actually Alexandra mean, right? And I Googled the name, and it means in Greek, the protector. And then I didn't have any questions anymore why I do what I
do. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So yeah, I think, when I understood how it's all built, and you then also, they say it's very helpful to actually, when you think something, the problem is so big, you can't ignore it, they say, right? Or something that really triggers you. And then like this inefficient systems and insecurity, and that we actually burn so much resources with clouds and, for machine economy, I think it can be done more efficiently. And then I actually went through my friends and I was asking or interviewing them, right? It's a good sign of how to understand what's your path. I was going around and I was like, does it trigger you as much as it, triggers me? And 20 people told me, Alexandra, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it doesn't even bother me, like even close, right? And this is how you get like to the understanding of, okay, maybe it's really my unique path, and maybe, and then you start feeling responsibility. You're like, oh, actually the universe brought me to Berlin. Actually, like I actually went through this PhD. I actually met these people. I actually got into crypto. And then you get like, oh, maybe I'm actually responsible for, like, if this power is given to me, right? Or this knowledge is given to me, this is what I have to do. And then the moment you realize it, you can't get out of it because you're like, okay. Also, maybe you can connect, you doing podcasts, right? Like you certainly also feel some ways of responsibility because, people listening to this, they're happy when the new episode is coming out. And then I don't want to say it's not you anymore, but like, you just become this kind of the messenger in a way.
It's funny that you said it, because I'm gonna at the same time now I'm gonna put oil in the fire for you. So of course, names, agreements on the meanings of names are vary on different internet resources, but Sergey in some at least sources has meaning of the last person on earth to believe in God. So it's very funny about the messenger and the it's true. But I of course, I could give oil from the other side as well. I'm not going to. I'm just going to add like that, you know. But wait. Before we move to me though, because we're not gonna move to me. We're gonna stick with you. Wait. This is the personal goal, and I want to move slowly now to kind of like more the professional talk and to Staex, of course. And you mentioned a lot of things that I want to ask about. And during the first half an hour of our conversation, you know, you were mostly concentrated on talking about your value, Alexandra's personal value. And usually it's very cool, by the way. And I want to thank you for it, because usually I have to dig for it. I have to really like dive and like really drag it out of people. With you, it was very easy. You are like you understand it yourself. But here is I'm going to make a shift slightly different with usually with the other people. It's the opposite way. I have to make a shift to the personal side. What about Staex itself? What is the goal? Like, you founded this project. Obviously, you're a person with very deep values, values that not just drive you, but, you know, you have a mission which you're driven by, and it's amazing. I think it's very fucking awesome to see. What about Staex itself? What is the mission? Because does it collide with you? Because there's obviously probably other people, and if it doesn't correlate, how do you correlate it for yourself? Because you're so value driven, like, how does it connect?
Right. So I would probably say one sentence which which my partner Paxi, she says it a lot, which I liked. I wouldn't realize it myself maybe in the beginning, and she would always say, Alexandra, Staex is you. And she would say this all the time. And when, you know, we had some conversations like some founders, maybe not in crypto, I don't know, but like, you know, in Web2, it's usual to set up a company and to have an exit one day in the future, right? This is how you kind of plan. And I also had these ideas like, you know, what's next, and, you know, what's next on the journey, and stuff like that. And then I actually understood that a lot of crypto platforms, which I didn't have this, I don't know why, like maybe if I would read more, I would get there. But I just got to this lately. It's all very long-term. Like it's not the Web2 game. And I know a lot of maybe crypto projects are like, you know, maybe more focused on the short term, because I just had this discussion with one of the investors yesterday. Because of the tokens and incentivization and the speed of the pace, maybe there are a lot of things that are, you know, short term, because you can kind of, you know, get the token and, you know, already exit or whatever. However, I think a little bit more patience will help the whole space to be more successful, because a lot of these things, you know, are like, to really integrate crypto into the real world, maybe we need another 20 years. And just like realizing this, okay, Staex is not, it's the 8th year that I'm doing it. It's for the next 20 years. And also this, you know, connection to, you know, Staex is you. So I actually was thinking I will have to do a lot more work on setting up I call it mindful organization, right? Writing down the values that I have. And what I learned on this way, the more, as you said, right, with you, it was easy because you know it. And I think I do a lot of work on this front, because I also talk about it a lot in my company, and people that are not connecting to this, they actually leave the company. And this is how slowly you actually get amazing colleagues around you, amazing co-founders that actually magically share your values, and you attract these people, and then you build this organization that is built on these values. And I think it's a normal practice, right? To say like, this is our mission, this is our vision, this is our values. And I think it really helps to voice it and to, you know, to say what you're actually standing for. Like, for instance, what do you think would be the first value? Just random guessing in Staex.
Okay, surprise me, because I'm thinking between probably something like freedom of being who you are or doing what you want, to something like, I don't know, something similar, something along those lines. I don't know. I'm thinking there for some reason. From what you've been talking about, I'm thinking to that direction.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, I will give it a thought. I like what you just said.
That's it. It's gonna rewrite it all.
I'm like so not don't have it integrity at all. Like just changing it after the podcast. No, it's so the first value is actually do everything with love. And I think it's so.
I like it.
Right? It's just like, and I also say to everyone, I truly believe if you love what you do, you always add something on top. You feel it. And also customers feel it and partners feel it, that you add this extra layer, right, of care in that sense. And that's why also when somebody, leaves our company or whatsoever happens, I'm actually happy for these people, because I say, I want, you to be happy. I want you to do the job you love, because if you force someone, if someone does it for money, or I don't say that this is not important. This is extremely important, the, material component to this. But first and foremost, we all love what we do, and this is what unites us, and this is what helps us to go through tough times, to bring this, really crazy projects together, and I just enjoy seeing this passion in their eyes and really bringing something to this world. And I think it's a very, very, I would say, many, interesting and multifaceted concept, which gives us the tool to actually force the people to connect to their values, because everybody will start asking themselves, like, how can I love something? Do I actually love my job, and things like this. So yeah, I guess this is on the value and Staex side. And for my personal values, I really want to build efficient machine economy. I've seen how cloud services are done and how it's all replicated and broken. And, I'm a true believer of simple, reliable systems, because this is also equal security. Like, you can never build a secure system if it's over-engineered. And, like, you have 300 services, and there are companies, for instance, that have architectures that the developers already even are not alive, and they even don't know what the services do. And it becomes so inherently complex. And I just think the less complex the system is, like, that's my basic understanding of security, right? The more control you have over it. And that's why I truly believe in, for our cars and charging stations and drones, using the crypto platforms to actually do automation through smart contracts, to actually do very cheap payments through crypto payments, right? And there is no other alternative to actually build it efficiently and secure. And, I also want to say, now that I teach younger students, they don't want to deal with this complexity. They just want to have nice infrastructure, abstracted APIs, and I want to set them up for success so that they come up with something beautiful, right, for our future lives, and not like being bothered by this infrastructure that is broken. So that's kind of how I connect it to me. And that's why I guess, you get energized every time you build the system and see customers being happy. Like, oh, this is possible in IT. Yes, this is possible. So yeah, this is how I would describe it.
Who needs crypto when you have abstracted APIs, right? I mean, you mentioned the life cycles of systems, and I mean, there is many things that spring to mind after what you said, but I'm gonna try and stick with the original plan of having a few professional questions to you, because I really want to hear your opinion on them. And I'm sorry that I'm pivoting a little bit, because what you are saying, in my opinion, deserves like a lot more than just a podcast on its own, but I'm going to try and pivot a little bit. The you mentioned life systems of machines as well, and one of the things, I guess, one of the not things but the qualities or whatever. I'm getting a bit lost here, so I'm just going to say it. Of those systems, of Web3 systems, is that the life cycle is not X10 or X100, it's X1000 from the life cycle of a system before. And I'm going to pivot the question as well. So, and you mentioned a few times OGs and newcomers, and it's a very touchy topic that almost nobody wants to talk about, like, because founders or I don't know, influencers that come on a show, they're afraid. Whenever we start talking about it, they're like, ha ha ha, they make a joke about it, and then like, well, let's pivot from that conversation. Let's go to there. And now you mentioned it yourself several times, and I think that life cycle of a machine kind of, to me, correlates, because I'm going to say it. I'm going to be the one that says it, and people might hate me for that, but I will try and say it and then give it to you, and like you say your opinion on that. Let's do it without a question.
Sure.
So in my opinion, at least, it's from what I've seen many times already, is that what the market, or what you call OGs, people who come to this market maybe, I don't know, before 2016 and roughly 17, 16, they had a longer interest in that market. Their interest was really, okay, I'm here for the next 20 years. I am Staex, so to speak. I am the one who is trying to draw this out with my own energy, and my energy is part of it. It feels to me, at least, and let me be the devil's advocate here, that the players that come into the market, let's say since 2021, are not here for a 20-year-old cycle. Or 20-year-old, of course, is just an example. It feels that their cycle is a lot shorter. So how do you, I guess the question is, how do you bridge that? How do you bridge your energy and your desire to be here for the next 28, 38, 108, if you could, years probably, as opposed to some players on the market whose interest is either getting direct benefit and leaving the market, or anything else that can be damageable? Or should we not look at it like that? Maybe it's wrong. Maybe the opinion of trying to put them in corners in the first place, what I'm saying, is wrong, and I can totally understand why it could be wrong. But what's your take on that?
That's very interesting. Great that you shared it. So we are, as we started, right, staying true to our beliefs. When you framed it like this, thank you for the summary, because I think that was a very interesting summary. I actually, when you were talking, I've seen it in my mind in layers. I guess everyone is needed on a certain layer. So I guess if you build something up to layer 1, which is layer 0 and layer 1, we Staex as a layer 0. I think this is what the fundamental infrastructure is. And this is where you need this longer breathe of this longer cycle with your own beliefs of what is the ecosystem and how it really connects to you, etc. While maybe if you build some apps on top, you can have this shorter win mentality, because it's also needed in this layer, because you want to have the app that now reflects the societal interest. Like, for instance, you want to build the app that counts your steps or whatever, right? Like we had a lot of crypto apps. So crypto kittens, right? It was right at the time when it was needed, and then it was not needed anymore. So maybe like this, that it's kind of structured into layers. And I guess, again, to the question of if someone can't imagine themselves doing it for longer years, they shouldn't probably build the new layer 1 ecosystem, or do some work around it, I would say. and maybe like this is kind of how you can in a way bridge it. And also for if we are investing in the space, also maybe seeing the kind of seeing it in people, like if this team is more kind of towards short-term gains, they probably wouldn't be the right team to build the next big layer one solution. Maybe this is how we can kind of separate it. And I also would also want to use this opportunity and say it. I think, the thing what I would like to bring into this community is being respectful and not saying, oh, no one cares about this platform anymore because it's so 2016. Maybe to also look into this as also the people went through experience. They, it's you can learn a ton from this journey. And so being respectful to, like the ecosystem would not live without the shorter interest games, the same as it wouldn't live without these longer protocols that are here to stay. And there is like a ton of people actually making it work. And a lot of, by the way, things that are not really perceived as fancy at today's crypto world, they actually went into a lot of real world use cases, and they're doing real world. Like we hear less about them because it's not out there maybe, but they actually, really trying to connect it to the real world.
I know that I've kind of left until almost the end with it, which wasn't my goal here, because the question I'm going to ask is a very big question, but I cannot not ask you that, considering your background and what you do and your experience. What Depin has been, well, the word itself is, brings straight away different thoughts to the mind, depending who you ask. By the way, I'm gonna start with a slightly different point. I was in conferences in Berlin when we met for the first time in some years. I've avoided for 3-something years, and I as normally, I guess that the people I connect to in the audience turn out to be or happen to be people who have been in crypto also for a while. And ironically, more than 90% of those people ask me, hey man, there's something I want to ask you. What the fuck does the pin mean? And I'm like, well, it's a funny thing that you ask, so I guess I'm not going to ask you what the pin means because it's too simple, I guess. But I want to ask you, what in your opinion are the steps that projects that call themselves the pin or correlate with the pin or on the sort of decentralized infrastructure level somewhere, what should, in your opinion, what is the advice for them to do or to build? Because you mentioned a few times, not the future economic rails, the future economic system, I think you called it. I'm sorry that it's not a quote. But, what can they do today? What are the people who are working there? Since we are kind of on the topic for the whole episode, what can they do in order to help make, the pin or decentralized infrastructure or anything on that similar level, a thing that people stop asking you when they come to conferences, even that they've been in the space 5, 6, 7 years, what does it mean, man? I don't want to ask anyone because I'm a bit shy, but how do we push it and make it a thing?
That's an interesting question. Give me a couple of seconds.
Take your time.
I love it. I've been thinking about myself. I mean, I'm just like, because I guess, we are doing a little bit different things at Staex because we really address the industry. So it's more like industrial deepin in that sense. And this is really different from, I would say, kind of more fancier deepin applications that actually have been or actually put this term out there and said, this is now the decentralized physical infrastructure. In a nutshell, you can say Bitcoin is deepin. Right? I mean, if you get more philosophical. What I've seen in this space is that there is a lot of gaming component that you like for instance, gather certain data in a more democratized environment, and everybody's, iPhone and phone is used. And I was thinking a lot how successful this concept is, because I don't know how you're approaching the system. I just know for myself, I use the app, and then in a month there is something else, and I kind of switch to this new fancy thing because, I also want to be part of the society, and I also want to have this fun, cool conversation, how I use this, new thing to gather this or that data. And I was just thinking maybe, I'm not sure whether it's like this for everyone. I just like kind of my personal feeling, right? So it can be extremely hard to actually build this long-term incentive, because if it's only in that sense a token which is more materialistic, right? How you actually, connect it back to this longer cycle than maybe just 1 month of this interest. And my kind of last thinking, maybe it will change, was towards maybe not democratizing everything heavily, because I think a lot of people jump into this, let's democratize everything, right? And everybody can take part in it, etc. But maybe building a little bit more, I would say, not centralization, but governance into these systems, in a sense of, let's maybe include corporates that are longer term incentivized. Let's maybe include, I don't know, whatever, schools, universities, maybe some, not just like B2C, but like giving it a little bit different component, that at least, you have the stakeholder that are in it for longer term, because you establish this more sustainable business models that really work for them and make sense for them. So kind of doing a little bit more thinking on, maybe, it's good for the government, and the government of Germany will be buying it for the next 50 years. This is amazing, this data, right? Maybe this more societal component, when you're not only saying let's democratize and everyone can take part, but putting a little bit more thought in how this can be set up. And I would make a beautiful example of how the DNS works today, right? Because it is in a way a decentralized system. However, there is a little bit of hierarchy and structure, and it's still working, and it's, there are some problems with it. But I'm just saying, like, maybe extreme left or extreme right can be problematic. And I guess this kind of balanced way in the middle can help us to be more successful long term, I guess.
I totally, I cannot, I have to say that I guess I'm a bit extreme in that case, but I totally understand what you mean. And I think that balance, even in extreme things, is definitely something that helps to create not order, because order is, I think, not the goal, but helps to create flow. I think balance helps to create flow, even in extreme things. And that's what helps us, I guess, find that understand those values and connect them, together with just the universe and what it is, go forest bathing, like you said, and really,
That's true.
and really, but it's true, because even extreme things, I think, have to balance sooner or later, right? Alexandra, let me jump into a quick blitz. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You don't have to answer them in a blitzy way. I call it a blitz, but it's more of a slow blitz. Some of them you kind of answered along the way, but I'm going to highlight them, so maybe the answer will change also. So the first one is easy. Give me or one movie or one book or one song that throughout your life has had a positive influence on you.
I will stick to the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Nice.
Yes, sounds a little bit cheesy. Actually, I didn't expect a lot from the title. It changed my life completely. So this book,
Why change your life?
I don't know, this, like, for instance, there was this value of approach people slow, like for especially highly efficient people that are like task, doing, right? And this kind of, you have to shift when you work with your coworkers, you want to introduce some changes, you have to be extremely patient, extremely mindful, things like this, or like making your family a priority and building it into your working routine. So I think that was very, very interesting.
Just for all the listeners, guys, if you want to check out the book or anything that me and Alexandra mentioned, please check out the show notes. And of course, you can find all those things linked to there. 2 more questions, a bit stranger. One, share with me one motivational thing that keeps getting Alexandra out of bed every day. Being an executive, being someone who tries to understand their own values, being somebody who's trying to be patient. So something that helps you to stay true to yourself and not betray yourself, as you mentioned.
Sure. I think it's like this, little things that are helping on your longer journey. It's providing for the community and helping people where I can. It really helps me to stay rooted to who I am and to my friends. And, always reaching out, asking, seeing, how can I support you today? Invite someone for a conversation, etc. This been really, really helpful for me and very fulfilling.
It's actually a very nice thing to think about. I think that it relates a lot to me. So it's something that I guess I'm thinking about a lot already, that you say that, and will be for the rest of the day. One last question, I promise. This one is a bit stranger. Dead or alive, real or made up? It could be a book character, a developer, a family member, a movie personage, doesn't matter. Not your guru, because I personally don't believe in gurus and try to avoid them. So somebody or someone or something that, positively influences you, and you kind of, sometimes when you're stuck, you don't like, oh, what would they do or whatever, but you're like, yeah, that's a good example of what maybe could have happened, or they could have been a good example to me.
I think my mom.
Nice. I like that. It's lovely. I love it.
It's just the life they lived, and I'm sure every family has it, like all the challenges, and it really gives this connection to me, like, oh my God, they made it. She's like 55 now. And I am their daughter. I probably have this strength too. So it's really, and also it connects you to your family, to your beloved ones. And I discovered it. Of course, I had like some heroes left and right? But I discovered it lately, and I found it very, eye-opening for me.
I got a bit lost because it's very emotional, but thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it, and I can totally once again relate to that. Alexandra, on that note, this was a very emotional episode. I want to thank you a lot for your time. Please don't hang up just yet. This is a goodbye for all the listeners. So everybody who tuned in and listened to us, thank you very much. And guys, see you next time. Thanks, Alexandra.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
This content was created by the Citizen Web3 Validator. If you enjoyed it, please support us by delegating on citizenweb3.com/staking and help us create more educational content.